Okay, so here is my excessive idea. So I made a little gap here at the hook, and I soldered on 3 extra wires at the end of the pixel so that it would continue into another strip where the Japanese characters go. So you can see it's like that, and at the very end, let me see if I can focus that on for you. If I can zoom in so I can see there. So you can see I soldered on 3 extra wires, and they go into the secondary strip. So if I turn it on, they both run, no problem. So now I need to glue the 2 pieces together to hold the blade, to hold the LED inside the blade, and then I would continuing adjusting this in the other piece, in the base piece. So the blade has got 96 pixels, measuring at around 60 centimeters, and this secondary strip is 39 pixels, measuring at around 27 centimeters. So yeah, I'll come back in a minute. You know what, I'm gonna try to record this bit, because since this bit is finicky, I want to make sure I actually document it. First of all, I need to make sure that it shuts correctly, because so I'm going to modify the file a bit more, because now since this area is a bit thicker because of the wires, I need to expand the model a bit more in this crevice. See here, so I melted it with a soldering iron just to make sure that it's going to give me enough clearance for the cables. So since I've done that, it doesn't shut fully, so I'm just gonna quickly sand it down with very fine grit. Both sides. And just quickly check that they shut very flush. Yeah, that's flush enough for me. So now I need to actually fixate the strip in place so that there's no movement for it whatsoever. So I'll do it wire by wire. So the wire that is at the very bottom is the red one. So let's curve that around. Can you see well? Maybe I should do it from this side so you can see better. Where are we? There we go. I think I'm somewhere around there. Very confusing angle. Okay, that should be alright. Okay, so shove the pixel in first, followed by the wire. Actually, I need to put in the wires with it. So I'm gonna use this scissors, just the tip. So I'm not, because obviously this is a sharp, but I'm using them because they're quite precise and fine. Okay, that's the red one in. The yellow one is in as well. And the black one, I don't think that will have space because that needs to be, that's more on the top side. Okay, so that's clear. Make sure there's no other parts that shouldn't be there. And obviously I got wires already connected to the bottom side of the pixel, because if I glue the pixel together, if I glue the, what's it called, the blade together. That's kind of it. So obviously, and it came out. Okay. Nope, came out again, jeez. Do I need to work with super glue here before I actually glue the blade and glue the blade together? And you know what? I need to test the functionality before I do anything else. Make sure that they both work. That just the power is going through everything. You know what, I don't think that's going to shut because I can see that the black area, where the wire is quite thicker. So I'm going to make some excess room at the bottom here with the soldering iron. You won't need to do this, I'm going to modify the files, but this is like a prototype, and I don't need to waste these bits because I'm working now. So yeah. Basically I just want to get this done, so that's why I want to get this. That's why I'm just doing this instead of reprinting. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to need to take some material off as well. Okay. So just sand it down. Where's my file? Not file, that sounds paper. Or do I just want to slice off with a knife? Maybe with this. Very carefully. There we go, like that. Ow! Oh, I just stabbed myself with the actual tip of the sword. That was not expected. I was being careful with the Stanley knife, but not the actual tip of the sword. That's funny. Okay, I can do a little test fit just to see if it will close. And it does, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm ready for super glue. But that was the only part that was kind of worrying me. And you know what? Before I do that, I can actually test if it turns on alright still. Check how it all looks. Whilst I got this like this. After I close this properly. There we go. Okay. Yep, all good. Yep, looks lovely. Let's glue it together. Get my clips. So hold on. Okay, so let's glue this together. I'm only gonna just show you guys just the gluing of this area. I mean, you've seen the gluing for the rest of this. There's no point. But I actually will show you what I'm doing a little bit different. So although this is a semi-transparent white PETG, you won't be able to see where the glue is. With the clear PETG, I actually saw where the super glue was. But this time I'll do like, once the dots are on, I'm gonna zigzag, like smudge it in place. Oh, I don't want that black dot because I will see that. Get off, dot. Okay, continue with the dots. So yeah, where I'm going to put a bit of excess glue is on this area, on the cables, because I do not want them getting tugged or anything like that. Back here, in the back of the strip. Okay, that's way more than enough super glue. Actually, put some on the hooks. You can't see, but you know what I mean, the hooks, like this area. Just on the inside. Not the outside. And let's put the top on. Hopefully everything will go as planned and as tested. I did test this. So far so good. Don't mess up. Yep. All looks good. Just got to make sure that it's perfectly aligned. Check functionality before I actually let it set. Yep, both pixels work. Strips, and then I can just use my clamps. It's quite hard to actually clip these at the angle, and my cat's meowing. Anyway guys, you get it. I'm gonna stop recording because you already seen this. So continuing with this implementation of the Cyberpunk Arasaka Corporation engraving, I got these little diffusion layers. So these are semi-transparent white, and this comes in one piece. However, mine was around 1 millimeter too small. So instead I cut it in half and I just expanded it so it just lines up, so it reaches the back of the letters. Now in the final model, of course, I'm going to adjust it, but I just didn't want to waste this, and I'm going to do the same to this for the other side. So first of all, I want to test functionality one more time. So the hole here, you see there's no hole here, so it goes in like that, in here, make sure it's aligned to the edge. But first, yeah, I'm testing it. So it would be like this, and I would glue the strip to the back of the diffusion layer. So let's turn it on and let's see if the look would look correct. So yeah, it's that kind of look that I'm after. So yeah, that's correct. So let's get on to adjusting the length of these wires, because obviously they're too long at the moment and they need to fit through. You see this little channel? Let me see, I'll zoom in. Not zoom in, I'm just gonna see if I can see it. So where this channel? Yeah, you see that little pathway? So the wires need to go in that. But I don't want the wires twisting, because you would be able to see the twisting in the wires when they are lit up. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna unsolder these wires and I'm gonna trim them down. So let's get my soldering iron. And where's my flux? Just want to make sure it flows nicely, because like this is so finicky again. This this strip. Just want to make sure it flows nicely, and always tighten the flux back, because I spilled them before and it's not fun when it spills. It causes a mess. It's really weird how sticky flux is. So yeah, these this soldering is very it's not a big joint, so I need to make sure that I glue the other components to their locations. Like I've got these wires super glued into the plastics as well, not just the strip itself. It's not just the joint of the soldering that holds it in place. So let's estimate the location, the distance of how much wire I'm gonna need. So I'm gonna actually, before I do that, let's estimate the distance that this is gonna cover. So yeah, that looks about right. I'll have like a few millimeters from the wires exiting the canal. That's what you want to call it. So let's cut one to the correct distance. Maybe leave some excess, not too much. Okay, see, that's how short it's got to be, and the rest can follow as well, the exact same distance. And then trim. Not so now. I need to make sure I do not cut any more off, because if I do, I'm kind of fucked. Yeah, I need to make sure I don't overcut it now. Just need to strip the. Just need to reveal the wire underneath the insulation. Okay, that's about right. Okay, so let's have a look. So this is black and red, so that means it's black. So that goes, is that inverted? Plus is, yeah, so the wires twist actually, kind of twist upside down, which is a bit annoying. What I could have done is I could have made the wires like that maybe. Actually, that would have been a bit better actually, because then it would have given me some leeway of the wire. Not a big deal. Let's just see if I can work out like this. So I could have made the wires, let me just explain. So I could have made the wires go to the bottom here, so that the pixel sits on this side rather than this side, and that way I would have more play with the cable length. But it's not a big deal. So let me get my soldering wire. And you know what? I am going to put a few drops of super glue, just a very, very tiny amount, onto specific areas of this strip. So I do not want to put any super glue where the characters are, like anywhere here. I don't want that, because as I mentioned, super glue affects black plastics, it makes them go white. So if I was to put super glue, I'm going to put it maybe a dot on the edge here, a dot on the edge here, 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 here. Yeah, so let's do that now, because I do need to get it in place so it doesn't move. So watch where I put it. Dots here, very tiny amount here, here, where it wouldn't show the white. I mean, it might show some of the white on the edge, but that's alright, because that I can sand down and then fill with some black paint using a sponge. But where I've got detail, I do not want to mess around with any sponge, because it might get into the crevice traveling down into the diffusion layer. That I don't want. Nuh-uh. Okay, so I've got enough super glue there. And align it and push it down gently, very gently, and do not move it. Don't move it back and forth. I'm going to do the same with this side as well. You don't need a lot at all really for this. Yeah, that's it, that'll do. Made it move a bit. I'm not happy that I made it move. Let's hope it didn't go in the corners. And I think it'll be alright. Push it in again because I just turned it around. And I'm pushing it in to the outsides. You won't need to do this because I'll modify this diffusion layer. Because I mentioned I made this a bit too narrow on the sides. Some of the characters weren't being filled up by the diffusion layer at the very edges. Anyway, back to soldering this pixel strip. So I've got my soldering wire here. Just clean up the area a bit. Okay, so let's put some tin on each of these wires. And I think that's about right. So to make sure the orientation is correct. Also, do look at the arrows where they're pointing. So we've got the connection going from here to that way, and then the arrows are pointing this way, so that's correct. If the arrows point that way as well, both of them, then it won't work because the flow of the electronics is that way. The flow of electronics, I wonder if that's the correct phrasing. Anyway, so minus is down. Okay. How the hell? This is quite limited in space. Okay. Maybe I want to do it like this for now, because it twists. Way more. Or shall I come back to it after I do a few more wires? You know what? I might use some what's it called? Not clippers, tweezers, just to hold the wire in place because it's so finicky. Yep, that yellow one is nice. Red one, positive. So the yellow represents data, and the black/red is common, negative, ground, all of those. And then before I put it into the diffusion layer, I'm going to test it as well. Test the functionality. Okay, that feels good. Turn it on. Yep, that's all good. So now, again, I'm going to push this because the super glue is kind of fresh. So disconnect it from the power. I'm not going to super glue these in place just yet because I want to see if I can get this to work. God, I'm a bit nervous about this channel. You know what? I'm going to modify the 3D file a bit more so this area has some more pathway. Yeah, I'm going to modify that because I'm limited at the moment. So this is the first time I'm attempting this, by the way, and I'm filming this. So I'm just showing you guys I'm showing you my fault finding as well. So as you can see, I think I need some more room since I got a twist there, especially, and it wouldn't hurt to have some room for movement. Not for movement, for just adjusting things in place. But yeah, the magic of a soldering iron, gotta love it. You can just fix things like that. And before I close it, I need to make sure that it's flush, that there's no areas protruding. So I do that with a bit of just that. That looks about right. And is that enough though? I don't think so. I'm gonna do a bit more. That should be enough. Yep, that should be fine now. Yep, so the twist would be like that. And I don't want to push it in place until I actually put super glue in and I'm happy with it. Let's just give it a test. Yep, the idea is about right. So I think I can just actually finally fixate it in place, to be honest. Yep. So to do that, it's the same process as before, really. Just put super glue in the hook areas. But actually I'm just gonna make sure that's flush, because I feel a bit of protrusion there. What's that? Okay, that feels flush now. Okay, and get super glue. Gonna push down this diffusion layer one more time because I'm not sure if it's in place or not correctly. Feels about right. So super glue. Gonna put a bit on each slot. This slot and the slot that you can't see as well. Yep, that fits in nicely. But I need to check from both sides. Carefully. Because here, this needs to be flush, it needs to be inside. So I can tell that this one is in a bit more than this side. This side. Or is it about right? Actually, I think it's about right. You need to make sure that there's no excess plastics in the way as well. Like here, there's a bit of plastic. Just get that out of the way. I think that's about right. And if you're very picky, you can put on the top as well just to see if it fits, but I know it won't at the moment because this side I needed to modify, so I'm going to modify that now, which again you won't have to do because I'll just modify the model. Okay, pick that out with the tweezers. Yeah, I guess I didn't prepare myself for the twist. In the wire. That should be more than enough. Make sure that the other side wasn't too damaged by the soldering. Looks fine. Almost there. And let's give it a try in closing it. So at the final piece I will do that, but not just yet, because I'm just testing that the hooks sit in place correctly. And besides, I'm not going to shut it in until the electronics are done at the base. Yeah, shot's fine. Yeah, very nice. Yeah, perfect. Let's give it a test with the power. This looks shit on this side, but what about the other side with the diffusion? Yeah, that looks mad. And I still haven't even glued the pixel in place. So let's glue it in place. How sick does that look? Let's do that. The diffusion is just right as well. It's not too thick, it's not too slim. Because if you make it too thick, then it won't shine through. And if you make it too thin, it won't diffuse enough. So I need to separate this now from the hooks. I'm really interested instead of how much, as well, in how much it's going to weigh, because that diffusion layer is now hollow in a way. It hasn't got any infill at all. So I'm I'm very interested in how much it's going to weigh. Because weight, as I mentioned, is a big deal in this sword, because this is meant to be swung around. Okay, got that out. So as I mentioned, now I'm gonna super glue this in place. I'm not gonna use 3M tape. I'm gonna use super glue specifically because I want it as light as possible. I'm trying not to add any unnecessary weight. So make sure that the diffusion layer is still in the correct position. And I'm going to use my clips. And so super glue is not conductive, so there's no big deal about that. But I'm not going to put too much either. I don't need a lot of super glue. But before I turn it back on, I'm going to give it around half an hour, because when it's in liquid state, it might be conductive. I'm not really sure. I mean, I read that it's not conductive, but it doesn't hurt to wait until it's cured fully before you give it a try and turn it back on. But then again, in the meantime, something might have went wrong and it might not turn on, which kind of defeats the purpose of the whole process. It's quite satisfying though, like doing it like this. Also, I'm keeping an eye on the center, trying to make sure that the LEDs are at the center point of the blade. Yeah, that looks nice. That looks cool. Like that. And whilst I'm waiting for it to dry, I can cut this in half and glue it on this side as well. So I'll do that. First I'm gonna figure out so it's supposed to go in that way. Flip it in half, flip it upside down, I mean. And then I'm gonna clip this, which you won't have to do because I already modified the files and I just haven't printed them out. So it has to be here. Off, like that, and then super glue. So now I do need to put it on the bottom, but I'm going to put it where the letters aren't there. Very small dots. And every few minutes I'm going to come back and just give it a slight push to make sure they're touching. Unless you've got time for clamps, which I don't think I need clamps for this. There we go. So I'm going to give it a bit of time for everything just to settle in place. Do I want to put some clamps down somehow? Or some sort of a weight? Not really. Can't bother with that. And that will do really.